W.
Welcome back to Cohort W, the podcast where we explore the past, present, and most importantly, the future of the Warrant Officer Cohort. I'm your host, Chief Warrant Officer 4, Jessie Morlan. And we are continuing our deep dive into Season 4, where we're tackling one of the biggest topics shaping our profession today, the modernization of Warrant Officer Professional Military Education, or PME. The battlefield is evolving. Technology is advancing at an unprecedented pace. The Army is shifting toward multi-domain operations, and warrant officers have to be ready. But how do we make sure PME isn't just keeping up, but actually driving the future fight? To answer that, we've got a powerhouse guest today. He's a leader who has spent his career not just mastering his craft, but shaping the next generation of warrant officers. I'm talking about none other than Chief Warrant Officer 5 Carlos Terrones, the Command Chief Warrant Officer of the United States Army Combined Arms Center at Fort Leavenworth. So let's run the tape real quick. He enlisted in 1993 as a light-wheeled vehicle mechanic, MOS 63 Bravo, known today as a 91 Bravo. And from there, his journey took him across multiple leadership roles as an MOS 915 Alpha and 915 Echo, with deployments to Bosnia, Iraq, and Afghanistan, and straight to the top as a strategic advisor at one of the Army's premier institutions for professional military education. Chief Terrones, welcome to Cohort W. How does it feel to be on the other side of the mic today?
Well, it's very exciting. It's exciting because we are in the midst of a lot of change, a lot of transformation, a lot of modernization, and it's exciting to be here to share some of the insights that I have with the team.
Before we dive into the deep end, let's start with a quick icebreaker. What's a piece of advice or wisdom you received early in your career that has stuck with you throughout your journey?
I think one of my favorite pieces of advice, and it was a little bit later in my career, so I hope that's okay, but as a young CW4, I was working on a project for the Ordnance Corps, and I was spending a lot of time on it. It's taking multiple months, and it's essentially what's called a military occupational classification structure change proposal to change the structure of some of the Ordnance Warrant Officer MOSs. And I was putting a lot of effort and focus on it, and I was trying to get it perfect. And CW5 retired Rick Myers, who was my boss at the time, finally said, he kept asking me for updates. I said, still working it. Finally said, Chief, do you have it 80% yet? I was like, yeah, I'm way past 80%. We're probably 95%. He's like, Chief, let's get it submitted then. What are we waiting for? So the lesson there for me that I carry to this day, and I share when I talk with other leaders, warrant officers, is don't let perfection be the enemy of progress. That's a saying that's out there. I didn't create it. But the lesson to me is I like to say, is it 80%? If yes, then let's go. If we wait till perfection, we may never get there.
That's some solid advice right there. It's always interesting to hear how those lessons shape us as leaders. So let's dive in deep now and start from the beginning. You've had a career that's taken you from turning wrenches as a light-wheeled vehicle mechanic in 93 to now shaping the future of PME as the Command Chief Warrant Officer at the Combined Arms Center, or CAC. Looking back, how have your experiences as an MOS 915 Alpha shaped your perspective on how warrant officer roles have evolved over the years?
So I have about 20 years of experience as a 915, collectively between 915 Alpha and 915 Echo. And looking back, I did not realize when I was an NCO considering becoming a warrant officer, even as I was transitioning, that I would have as much focus and time dedicated towards leadership and training. So I believe those two elements have really shaped how I look at warrant officers today, understanding that we have a huge role as trainers. And I like to say, anytime I get a chance to speak with warrant officers, junior warrant officers especially, that they should consider themselves the master trainer of their organization for their functional area. And they have to own that role so that the command, the organization they're assigned is as proficient and ready as possible within that skill. The other piece that I've been fortunate to have a good vantage point of is emerging technology. As you mentioned in the opening, technology is changing rapidly. And as a 915 Alpha and 915 Echo, having oversight of equipment readiness and the challenges to ensure our units are ready, despite the rapid changes of technology, is really a challenge. And so as we look at PME and institutional training domain, how can we collectively as an enterprise ensure our newest warrant officers through our senior warrant officers are best equipped from the institution to execute their roles and responsibilities in the field?
That's such an incredible perspective. You know, it really speaks to how warrant officers aren't just technical experts. They're leaders, innovators, and problem solvers who drive the Army forward. And hearing how you transition from hands-on work to a high-level strategic role really showcases the adaptability and depth of the warrant officer cohort. Let's shift the conversation slightly. Let's unveil some of the current modernization efforts for the audience. So during the last United States Army Warrant Officers Association all-members meeting, you and a team of senior leaders provided an overview of the modernization efforts for Warrant Officer PME. For those who weren't in the room, can you break it down for us? What's currently in development, and how does the new technical course design better prepare warrant officers for the future fight?
So I'm really excited about this. And it's a initiative that I inherited in my role as the CAC CCWO. I've been in position now for approximately 9 months. Prior to me, our current Chief Warrant Officer of the Army, Aaron Anderson, and before him, CW5 retired Steve Kilgore, developed our Warrant Officer PME modernization effort. In development currently and approved for FY26, we have the Warrant Officer Intermediate course, a new technical course focused at the 1 to 2 year time and grade CW2. This new technical course will help bridge the gap between our Warrant Officer Basic course and what is now the Warrant Officer Advanced course follow-on. Over the span of approximately 7 years, we have now transitioned from having 2 courses to 3 technical courses. That goes back to the opening comment about the rapidly changing technology, and I'll add the rapid pace of transformation of our Army. And in some cases, organizations are doing experimenting and changing MTOs within a year or 2, which is fast, very fast. This new technical course, this new touch point at PME will help enable us to stay abreast of changes within organization, changes within doctrine, and then changes within the MOS and the technology that impacts each MOS. Additionally, at the CW5 rank, a new course on glide path for execution in FY27 will be implemented. That new course is the Warrant Officer Master course. That will be for specific positions to help enable senior warrant officers to transition from the tactical and operational into strategic advisory roles. In addition, in FY26, Also coming online at the CW3 rank is the Warrant Officer Advanced Course, Common Core, and Technical Follow-On. And at the CW4 rank is the Warrant Officer Senior Course, Common Core, and Technical Follow-On. Those courses are intended for those selected for those ranks to attend to help us get the most precise training at the right time within a warrant officer's development, to align those courses with the duty positions authorized for those ranks.
Well, that's exciting. Sounds like we're not just tweaking the curriculum, we're reimagining how warrant officers are trained from the ground up. That kind of bold change is what's going to keep our force ahead of the game. So with the addition of those courses with similar names, do you predict there will be any challenges and policies currently in development in regard to the flip of WOIC, the intermediate course, coming before WOAC, the advanced course?
Absolutely, and I'm glad you bring that up. It can be very confusing. We have a Warrant Officer Advanced course in FY25 that a warrant officer in the rank of CW2 with 1 or 2 years time and grade can attend today. In FY26, now that will become the Warrant Officer Intermediate course, and we still have a Warrant Officer Advanced course, but now that third level of education will be geared towards those that are promotable to CW3 and those that have been pinned CW3. To help bridge the gap, the Army G357 team has begun development of a policy to allow warrant officers to attend the appropriate course, considering that the course content has changed and some of it has transitioned from one course or one level to another. What we want to do is ensure that the branches that manage these courses have all the tools needed to help us transition our cohort with minimal obstacles and challenges. Now, with any change, there's going to be challenges. We know that, and we anticipate that. And this will not be a 100% solution, as I made a comment about 80%. This is a 80% solution. It's not going to be perfect. There's going to be bumps along the way, but I believe with the team we have at the branches, at the regiments, at the centers of excellence, at the G357, I believe we are postured to navigate these challenges effectively. But it comes down to the team that's listening in, to the team that's in the field, understanding these changes, understanding what it means to them in their career, or maybe those that they mentor, and apply it to their career. And when they are in question, ask the question, and we will help answer as best we can. But really our goal is to provide the branches that manage these MOSs as much flexibility as possible in FY26 and FY27. That's the policy I'm referring to by G357 to help us transition. And in addition, AR 350-1 is going through review now, and these new courses will be included, and we expect AR 350-1 to be published in the summertime.
All right, let's jump over now to one of our new Season 4 items, what I like to call our quick-fire questions, which are questions from the audience. So this episode's quick-fire question comes from our fiscal year 23 and 24 Warrant Officer Historical Foundation Fellow and Season 3 host of Cohort W, Chief Warrant Officer 3, Suzanne Albert. So she poses a really compelling question that I'd like to get your take on. Her question is, we, as educators and leaders, have an obligation to prepare warrant officers for the next conflict, to ensure they are as lethal and effective as possible. But the wars we fought in the past, in Iraq and Afghanistan, are vastly different from the large-scale combat operations and multi-domain operations we're preparing for today. How do we take the lessons and experiences from those past conflicts and effectively translate them into the skills needed for future warfare?
Ms. Albert poses a really good question, because counterinsurgency is very different from multi-domain, large-scale operations. Large differences, as pointed out in the question. What I think we have to do is look at some of the lessons that do translate over, such as the initial deployment period of OAF-1, for example, and the austere environments that those units were expected to operate in. But in addition, building on that, taking a step further, we have a lot of lessons learned and observations from conflicts occurring today in the world. And there's a couple that we could learn a large amount from, and how the use of UAS is employed, for example, or how the use of robotics is being used today on the battlefield. I'll also add, and this was a good title to the question, quickfire question, that the Center for Army Lessons Learned, CALL, has a quickfire portal. That quickfire portal, I really want the audience to know about this. It's a lessons learned portal. Lessons learned submitted by organizations across our Army, regardless of compo. We have lessons learned posted from transformation and contact units that are doing experimenting today, posted to that portal. We have observations, trends from CTC rotations. So if you're getting ready to go to a CTC exercise and you want to see what some of the trends that have been noted from the past rotations, you could go on there. You could see some of the observations, lessons learned from those exercises, so you could better equip your team as you prepare for some of these exercises or rotations. But we have to use a blended approach, in my opinion, to ensure that we are ready for MDO, LISCO. I think there's a lot of looking back even past COIN into the Army of the 90s and 80s, where we had some of the other operations going on. We could learn a lot from those as well. So we have to have a broad view. We have to look at all relevant information to include the conflicts going on today, to ensure we are the best postured and ready for today and tomorrow.
So you've deployed to Bosnia, Iraq, and Afghanistan, and I'm sure each of those environments came with unique challenges. How have your operational experiences influenced your views on what should be emphasized in Warrant Officer PME today?
I was a young soldier when I deployed to Bosnia, but I was a young specialist, I believe, at the time. And that deployment did teach me a lot, and it did shape my view going forward throughout my career about there will be times when you deploy with what you have. There's not a rush of new equipment. There's not a FOB waiting for you. In that case, with Bosnia, I was part of the first wave of units that went into Bosnia, and we were creating everything from the start with our base, with everything else. And, what that taught me is, again, back then, I was a light wheel vehicle mechanic. The equipment we had in Morpole is what we took. And so today, while we're in the middle of a lot of modernization, a lot of new equipment fieldings, we never know when we're going to be called upon to deploy and fight our nation's wars. And the equipment we have, the training that we have, the soldiers that we have is what we have. And it's up to us as the technical experts to understand where our gaps are, to understand what our weaknesses are, what our shortages are, and to take action today on those, because we just never know what's going to happen tomorrow. When we talk about Warrant Officer PME, I look at it as we have to be the most technical expert, because when we look at, I'll share my Iraq and Afghanistan experiences. In Iraq, located on an isolated forward operating base, minimal contract support, the soldiers that we had provided all the maintenance support for not only our assigned unit, but the units that were coming in and out of our battle space. We didn't have a lot of contractors. We didn't have a lot of other enablers there. We had what we had. So that taught me a lot, and I was fortunate and thankful for that experience, as hard as it was. But then when we look at the Afghanistan deployment, we were part of some of the base closing there. And so again, to be on the ground when the final U.S. soldiers leave a compound and the Afghan soldiers come in, and there's no more U.S. soldiers there, there's definitely no civilians there at that point. It is only soldiers. And what we had, and again, the skill sets that we had to maintain the equipment, to execute the mission, really came back to our training. So when I look at the institutional training, understanding that institutional training is one of 3 leader development domains, the other 2, of course, being self-development and the operational domain. What we do in the institution is vital to ensure our warrant officers, and really any soldiers coming through the institution, is the most prepared. But with that said, we have a limited time in this institution to prepare people. So we have to use that time very wisely. And each MOS has to look at the critical tasks that are being trained, examine those critical tasks, and ensure that they are most accurate for the Army today and tomorrow, the missions and roles that we have to execute today and tomorrow. So it's important that we get those critical tasks right. Otherwise, our training will not give a warrant officer attending what they need to be most effective. So a long way to say, the critical tasks within each MOS has to be tailored and examined, reviewed, to ensure the most effective training is provided to the students.
So, as the Command Chief Warrant Officer at CAC, you're leading efforts to modernize PME. What initiatives are you most excited about, and how do you see them shaping the next generation of warrant officers?
So I'll share two responses here. I'm really excited about the Warrant Officer Intermediate course. I've often felt, regardless of where I was serving, what organization I was serving at, that we needed increased technical training for our junior warrant officers, because the junior warrant officers are often in the tactical formation, solving problems for their command, integrating new equipment or new capabilities and employing it, and having an additional touch point focus at the technical level for the tactical echelon. I'm really excited about that. I think it's long overdue, and again, it's really hats off to CW5 Aaron Anderson and CW5 retired Stephen Kilgore for having the foresight and getting this initiative started. Now, I talk about 2 past CCWOs, so that tells you how long of a period we've been working on this. Yes. Easily a 5-year project that's about to become reality in October. So really excited about the Warrant Officer Intermediate course, really excited about the emphasis on technical training at each MOS, excited that we're not taking a one-size-fits-all approach. Each branch has been given the levers or the ability to develop their courses as they see fit, within some resource constraints, of course. But the other piece to this answer I'll share that I'm really excited about, I'm really excited to see what the Aviation Center of Excellence does with their modernization of their PME. They've taken a different approach. Their aviation warrant officers, all MOSs, will execute the Warrant Officer Intermediate course, the Warrant Officer Advanced course, and the Warrant Officer Senior course all within the aviation COE. In other words, for those 3 levels of education, their warrant officers will not be attending the Warrant Officer Career College Common Core. They're increasing the amount of technical training provided to their warrant officers within their MOSs. I will be keeping a huge interest in their observations, lessons learned that they're able to share, because their approach of really increasing the amount of technical training in the midst of one of our Army's biggest modernization efforts and transformation efforts could pay huge dividends to those warrant officers. And I'm interested to see after a year or two the feedback that they have from the students, the outcomes in terms of certain measurables, certain key metrics that apply to the aviation field. Did we see improvements? Did we see? Did we achieve what we thought we could achieve by taking that approach that the aviation COE took?
The Warrant Officer Cohort is built on tradition, but at the same time, we can't afford to stay stagnant. How do you balance honoring the legacy of the Warrant Officer Cohort while making the necessary changes to keep PME relevant?
Yeah, thank you for that question. That's a really important question. Tradition is critical to any organization, any cohort, and we have a very strong, proud tradition within the Warrant Officer Cohort. But I try not to get confused between honoring tradition and resisting change. To stay relevant, we have to change, not only in PME, but in many, many aspects. Technology is changing too fast. Organizations are changing. We are seeing reduction of certain resources. And if we do not change to counter some of the challenges coming our way, then we risk becoming irrelevant. And there's no doubt in my mind that that will not happen. We, as a subject matter experts for our Army, really contribute a lot. Even though we're very small, we all know we're very small, the smallest cohort within the Army, but we pack a huge punch with what we provide. And with that said, we have to be at the forefront of change, to be honest, in my opinion. We have to drive change. We have to look for the challenges that new equipment, new technology, new formations, new doctrine. We have to look at all the challenges as it pertains to our functional area, our specialties, and anticipate those challenges and start solving those challenges before they come to fruition, before they become showstoppers. So the Warrant Officer Cohort is uniquely built to do just that. The technical expertise that we possess, coupled with the leadership abilities that we have, enables us to do just that for our organizations. By definition, we are integrators, system integrators, and we have to ensure that we are doing just that, integrating, especially at this time in our Army, as a lot of changes coming our way and has already came our way. And with those changes, we're going to see things that were missed. You know, we'll see a lot of 80% solutions coming our way, which is fine. To get a perfect solution is very, very uncommon, maybe even impossible. So understanding that we will not get perfect solutions, we have to be that bridge. We have to close those gaps on those shortfalls to ensure that our units, the commanders we support, the soldiers within those organizations are the most prepared to do their missions.
So let's talk mentorship. Throughout your career, I'm sure there have been key moments where a mentor made a difference. Can you share an instance where mentorship profoundly impacted your development, and how do you integrate mentorship into PME today?
You know, this question, I think as I look back on my career, could have been answered differently at almost every rank, to be honest. At this stage of my career, I'll tell you, mentorship has been so important to my development. And I could go on and on for hours talking about the leaders, the mentors that have had a huge positive impact on my career and helped me get to where I'm at today, and how thankful I am for them. One in particular, CW4 retired John Cheek. He was our brigade senior maintenance warrant officer, joined our unit right before the Afghanistan deployment. At this point in my career, I was maybe a 2 or 3 year time and grade, CW3. And he was, when I think about a warrant officer, he's what I think about when I try to emulate somebody with their qualities, with the way they carried, the way he carried himself, the way he was very professional, very knowledgeable, expert in his field, had great communication skills, and was very direct, not just with warrant officers, but with senior leaders within the brigade. He was able to influence, advise, and get positive outcomes almost every time. Sure, there was a lot of challenges, and I was able to watch how he dealt with those challenges. And in many cases, and this is probably what was the most meaningful to me, was he allowed me to kind of pick his brain, kind of, understand the way he looks at certain obstacles or challenges and how he deals with them. And I learned from that a great deal. And so to him, I'm very, very thankful. And again, I could go on about so many senior warrant officers or other leaders that had those mentorship moments with me. I'll share a couple more if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah.
I was walking through, and I share this when I do LPD. So if you've been one of my LPDs, you may have heard this story before. But I was in a CW4, newly promoted, in a theater sustainment command. I worked in the G4 at the time. And I was walking down the hallway of the headquarters one day on a random day, random afternoon, and I see my senior raider, the chief of staff, 06, approaching me. We're just crossing paths through the hallway. I was really expecting anything. But he stopped me and he said, "Hey, Chief," kind of out of the blue. He said, "Hey, Chief, you know what I need from you?" And so I started thinking, what fleets are we having problems with? Does he need an update on a readiness report? Trying to think real quick. I didn't know. I said, "No, sir. What do you need?" He said, "I need you to coach and mentor our field grades." And as a young W4, that was a light bulb moment for me. I had never thought about my role in the development of field grade officers. But when he said it, it just clicked and made all the sense. But just hearing him say it, maybe that's on me, an error on my part that I didn't have the vision to know that. And maybe someone on the audience will be saying, "Chief, shame on you. You should have known that." But I didn't know that. And so to hear an 06 say he needed me as a young W4 to coach and mentor the field grades within the organization because of the amount of depth of experience and knowledge that I had, that we have as a cohort, it really made all the sense in the world. So I share that now when I do LPDs, especially with the advanced course and higher. That mentorship goes many different ways. Yes, definitely be a receiver of mentoring, have a mentor, but also you, the audience, myself, we all have a responsibility to mentor others, not just within the warrant officer cohort, the junior warrant officers, but also the NCOs and the O-grade officers. Those O-grade officers, those field grades that he was talking about, will move on, become brigade commanders and higher, right? So we want to ensure that we are developing others, especially with the amount of knowledge that we have within our area of expertise. We have to share that and help prepare others for success within their own careers. And then integrating mentorship into PME is vital. I think it's important that all branches have a mentoring program. A lot of it's informal. The instructors taking time out to share their experiences, their lessons learned with the classes, but also other senior warrant officers or senior leaders having the opportunity to do guest speaking on occasion when the schedules allow with our students. Great opportunity there. And as a matter of fact, tomorrow I get to do some of that with some WOBC and advanced course students. So I'm looking forward to that. We should all look for opportunities to give back in whatever way we can, whether you're a retired warrant officer listening or a W1 that just graduated a warrant officer basic course. We all have the ability to mentor, and we should do our best to do that in whatever role that we have today.
All right. So you've earned an MBA and multiple degrees in applied management and financial planning. How has higher education shaped your approach to PME, and why is it so critical for warrant officers to pursue lifelong learning?
So lifelong learning is really important, in my opinion. I felt pursuing those college degrees really did a couple of things for me. As we just mentioned, being so focused within the job isn't always good. I mean, it's great to have strong focus, but we have to be balanced as well. And so these college degrees that I was pursuing gave me a good balance. And it also really enlightened me into other ways of utilizing critical and creative thinking that above what PME, military education and training provided. It gave me additional tools in the tool bag, so to speak. And that has been hugely beneficial because as I look at challenges, I try and incorporate multiple mechanisms or ways to solve problems. And pulling from some of those college classes, pulling from the military education, pulling from experiences has really helped me do that. I think pursuing education and being a lifelong learner is really important, especially for the warrant officer cohort. Because as we stated before, technology is changing so fast. And we could pick a specialty, we could pick a technological field and just do a whole day on looking at all the advancements that are happening today and that are in development for tomorrow. And then what does that mean for a specialty? We could talk about signal, cyber, we talk about some of our core master MOSs and all these new technologies that are coming out today and into the future. And having a broad way to look at challenges and pull from that tool bag to solve those challenges is beneficial. And that's how I look at higher education. But I'll also add in that college degrees are one thing, and also important are certifications and credentialing. So I would recommend, to the audience, especially the junior warrant officers and those aspiring to become warrant officers, to explore also the opportunities within the Army Credentialing Assistance Program that are available. Credentialing within the MOS in areas related to the MOS will not only provide a way to become increased technical expert, but also add increased opportunities, because we will all transition one day. And so that's what a lot of these credential certifications, diplomas also help in the future when we do transition. So it helps us while we're in the military. And of course, when the day comes out, we transition into the civilian sector. It will all be beneficial. A long answer is say critical to be a lifelong learner, whatever avenue you take, whether it's a degree, whether it's a certification or a credential, whatever applies to your MOS. And I would encourage, if you're in service, with regards to compo, to look at your MOS career map, regardless of compo, regardless of your enlisted NCO warrant officer or even an officer. Look at what the branch has published in the career maps to understand what is the ideal level of education, training, assignments for each step of the way, regardless of rank. It'll have that feedback for you. Regardless of rank, you can find your rank and see what the branch says you should be aspiring to attain. and use those as benchmarks for your career.
Looking ahead, what skill sets will be non-negotiable for future warrant officers, and how should PME adapt to equip them with these competencies?
But speaking broadly, I think there's certain skill sets that will apply to all in some degree, and then specific skill sets that will apply to a small amount of MOSs. And then PME, how will PME adapt? So one that comes to mind is data literacy, data analytics. Data leading to decision dominance on the battlefield for our commanders. So when we think about the warrant officer as a technical expert, as a leader, utilizing data, leveraging data, and we have a lot of data today available within the Army. And you could pick a MOS or a branch and then deep dive all the amounts of data available. But when we talk broadly about data, one of the ways that PME is adapting, I'll share that the Warrant Officer Career College is really taking a lead in focusing the Common Core for the needs of today and tomorrow. So when we talk about data, the Warrant Officer Career College will have a block for data literacy for the branches to build upon. Some branches will need to build upon it for specific MOSs, and then some branches may not need to build upon what the Warrant Officer Career College provides. There's been a lot of dialogue between the Career College and the branches to share what the Career College is doing in terms of Common Core and the training that they're going to be providing starting in FY26, and to allow the branches to build on it as they see fit. So I'm really excited about that. But when we talk about additional skill sets, we talk about items such as robotics and what is needed in that space, UAS, etc. And so I think we have a lot of work still to do as technology continues to develop. We have a lot of work ahead of us. So FY26 is exciting. It's going to be a good transition into a new PME continuum, but change is going to continue. So the product that's produced in FY26 is just a step along this path that we're on. We have to continually innovate. We have to continually assess, analyze. Is it producing the results that we're expecting? So we have to measure. And if it's not, then we have to adjust. And sometimes adjustments take time. A lot of this is tied to funding, which is a multi-year process. So we have to be very adapting and responsive to the observations and the feedback that we get. So the students that go through these courses, the feedback is critical. Not just at graduation, but even later on, a year later, what was provided give them the tools needed to be successful. Of course, there's still the self-development that they should do in the field. If there's a new item they're fielding, they should attend the training. They should do more research and understand doctrine and apply it. So there's self-development. And of course, that's all in the operational domain. But, the PME, how can we improve the PME? Understanding that it won't be perfect for every single student because each student has so many different variables, units of assignment, level of echelon that they're serving at. Are they active guard or reserve? Are they MDA TPU or AGR? There's so many variables. And we won't get it perfect for every single student, but we'll strive through the COEs to get it as best as possible. And of course, the Career College with the Common Core.
All right, let's talk about some challenges in modernizing PME. So every modernization effort comes with challenges. What have been some of the biggest obstacles that you've encountered in modernizing PME, and how have you worked to overcome them?
I'll list a couple of challenges. One is the transition timeline and the funding, resourcing. That challenge has taken a lot of collaboration with various stakeholders, key offices or organizations to ensure that we had the resources aligned with these new courses. And we're still working through some of that, but we are on glide path for well over 95% of our MOSs to be on the modernized PME continuum in October. So really exciting. We weren't there not long ago. What I mean by that is we had some disconnect in the resourcing category that we had to work through. And we worked through it with senior warrant officers, civilians, leaders, and other organizations to help us get to this point where in October, we'll have all warrant officer MOSs on this new continuum, minus two small exceptions. One being MOS 180 Alpha, that has an ETP going through the process now to ensure that they receive the training required at the right points of their career as special operators. And MOS 270 Alpha are legal administrators. They will have the advanced course and the senior course. We'll see how they incorporate warrant officer intermediate course or if they do in future. All other MOSs will be on the new revised PME continuum. So we're really excited about that, but the resourcing has been a huge challenge that we've had to work through. Fortunately, we did. When we talk about the future of our PME, I think it's important that we ensure our senior warrant officers have training in areas such as funding and the POM process. Understanding that will ensure at the most senior positions, at the most strategic organizations, that those senior warrant officers are equipped for the challenges that may come their way. And many of those challenges are funding related or resource related. So we got to understand the resourcing of the Army, how the Army runs, so to speak, to ensure that we're best posturing those senior warrant officers at those strategic levels. And then the other piece I'll share is the actual transition, execution. What does that mean to the junior warrant officer at their stage of their career? So working with the G357 and policy, getting a policy to cover a 2-year transitional period. It may be longer. Until it's published, we won't really know, but we're expecting it to be maybe 2, maybe even 3-year transition period. And that transition policy will ensure that we reduce the challenges to the junior warrant officer or the senior warrant officer, even if they are lacking the level of PME. Will allow people to kind of right size for where they're at in their career in our new continuum. So looking forward to that. A lot of help on this project along the way, and definitely a true team effort getting this PME modernization effort to where it's at today.
So if you could implement one major change in Warrant Officer PME that would have the biggest impact, what would it be?
So I have two answers to this, if you don't mind. One would be the ability to adapt quicker. A lot of our process are multi-year processes, and there's a lot of good reason for that. There's a lot of steps and a lot of our processes that we do. But if there could be one major change, it would be to incorporate faster, adapt faster, whether that's technology, whether that's doctrine, whether that's lessons learned in the field of an ongoing conflict. Maybe not even a conflict that the U.S. is involved with, but a conflict that's occurring in the world. How do we incorporate lessons learned faster? So getting faster in terms of developing our POI, changing our POI, enabling the process to move faster, I think would be great. The other piece, I'm really interested to see how the aviation COE and their effort goes, and the feedback that they get on their. They have an exception of policy, which I mentioned earlier. They will be doing all their training for the WOWIC, the advanced course, and the senior course within their center of excellence to expand the amount of technical training per MOS. Really excited to see how that process goes for them and their feedback on it, to see how can we take their lessons learned and the lessons learned from the other COEs that are doing unique initiatives. And there's a lot of unique initiatives going on for FY26. So really incorporating those unique initiatives and best practices, sharing them across the centers of excellence to ensure that we have the best training possible for the warrant officers.
So Chief Terrones, this has been an incredible discussion. Thank you for your leadership, your vision, and for taking the time to share these insights with us today.
I really want to thank you for this opportunity, and really the opportunity to get the message out to our cohort and those aspiring to join our cohort, to see the exciting changes coming our way regarding our PME, regarding our Army, and ensuring that we, as technical experts, continue to be those leaders, advisors, experts, integrators within our field. I would just like to mention one more time the Center for Army Lesson Learned Quickfire portal. That's available to anyone listening. And if you have insights to contribute, I encourage you to do so. I encourage you to make contributions to the Quickfire portal. That's the Army repository for lessons learned, so that others in similar organizations or facing similar challenges can learn as well. And that's one way we can all help each other and foster our cohort.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Cohort W. We'll be back with more conversations on the future of Warrant Officer PME. Until next time, stay sharp, stay adaptable, and keep leading from the front.